Hello, I am Mary Jackson, and I'm the Research and Instruction Librarian here at Milligan University, and I work at Welshamer, which is the one on the main campus. As I said to some at the beginning, this is not a discussion of APA in general. This is just a discussion of the new APA 7th edition. This came out at the end of 2019, and typically what happens is very few people start using it immediately. Over the summer, after the book comes out, all the places that have to update the information update them, and then the next fall most people start using it. So this is the fall that we should be using APA 7. Overall, APA 7 I think is really good things. There are very few changes that I don't like. Most of the changes I think are good and easier and simpler, which is better for all of us. There's a couple of things they've done that are absolutely fantastic, and I can't believe they haven't done it before now. One of those things I will mention right now is this book I have in the library with me on my desk, so if you're ever wanting to look at it, we also have a copy you can check out, and there's also a copy at the seminary library. So you can always talk to David Kiger and he can help you find one. Finally, APA has always treated this manual like it's for people who are not students, but for people who are sending things off for publication, which is not our students. And so they finally have an example of a sample paper that's a sample student paper and not one you're submitting to a journal for publication, which none of our students are doing. So there's actually a sample title page. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. There's also a sample student paper in here. I am beyond excited to have this. This is something that we've wanted forever and it's not happened. So this has made me very, very happy. And so if you're interested in that, if you'd like to see this, most of the things that are in the book are also on the APA style manual page, and I'll show you where to find that at some point. Let me add a couple more people in here. Make sure we're getting everybody in here. And it's, okay. The next thing that we need to talk about is, I forgot to do something that I was going to do. So let me get this out of here for right this second. Here, I forgot that I was going to show you all something on the library webpage real quick. First of all, am I doing screen sharing here? Just a second here. Okay, now you're on where I am. This is the library webpage. I hope you've been here. It's great. There's some things that we're updating and changing, and so that is going to be good. First of all, citation is part of information literacy, because citation is having students go out and use other sources from other places and then incorporate that information and give credit to the people whose work that is. And that is information literacy. We do have an information literacy plan. Part of my job is helping people implement that. And so if you are using APA, if your students are using APA, needing APA to complete assignments, then you are instructing in information literacy. And I would just encourage you to put some information in some student learning outcomes in your syllabi that says that's what you're doing. And if you want help with that, please talk to me and I will be happy to help you get that language in your syllabi. Some of you have already done that, many of you have already done that. But if you're new to campus or haven't done that, I would love to have that in there to say that you are doing some information literacy things in your class. And with any of these things, if there's something you want me to come and talk to your students about, work with your students about, I can do that too. Another thing I'd like to point out to you is that our OneSearch, which we've changed its name, it used to be MC Search, but we're not MC anymore, we're MU. and we didn't really like MU search. So we have changed it to OneSearch. And so I've got to relearn that too, which will be interesting. But we do have, OneSearch does have some helpful citation creator software as part of it. You may not be aware of that. I hope your students are aware of that. But if you'd like to know more about this, you can see this tutorial, and there's a variety of tutorials that I have on all sorts of things. But OneSearch Citation Creator, this is a good thing to point out to your students. It is not perfect, but it's pretty good, and it does do APA 7. So I would recommend that if your students are not sure how to do citation, would like help with citation, I personally find it's a great way to start your citation, because it's going to do a lot of the formatting for you, and then you can just tweak a few things, and that's great. Okay, let me quickly check to stop screen share and make sure I've got everybody in who's supposed to be in. Okay, let me see what the chat says. Okay. I'm a one-woman show today, so you're gonna have to. I have to do everything. Let people in, do all these things. Okay. So here is my discussion. This is a PowerPoint Google Slides that I did using Scribbler as a base. They provided this, but I've added my own stuff. What I did is I went out and looked at a variety of changes that people discussed about APA 7th, and I think this is the highlights of things that are going to be. So what's changed? There are better guidelines for citing online media. I have not actually included that in this presentation. You can just see them, but there are more examples and better things for doing online stuff. So for some of you, that would be very helpful. There's updated guidelines for inclusive and bias-free language. I do mention that. There's a whole chapter in the manual about that, and so you might want to look at that. I'll give you a few examples of what that means. As I've already mentioned, there's a student-specific paper format, which I love. And so that is online, and it's in the manual, and it is extremely helpful for many of us helping students. And then there are minor changes in how to cite sources, and that's actually what most of this presentation will be on, some of the changes that have happened. So the first thing we're going to discuss is references and in-text citations, a few of the things that have changed. The thing I dislike the most, and I understand why we're doing this, but it's still a very annoying thing. But I'm putting the thing I like least first, and then we'll work on the things that I like best later on. So with old APA 6, if you had up to 8 authors, you had to include them. And after that, you could just ... and not put them. That is now changed, and you have to include up to 20 authors in the reference list. And let me tell you, if you actually have a citation with 20 authors, it doesn't look great. But you understand that if you were one of those 20 authors, you might want your name included in the citation. So the green example here has just what 3 authors would look like. And then this is actually for one, if it was 21 or more authors, you would list up to 20, then do ... and then the last one. I don't think you're going to have too many. The ones where you see this are in some of the social sciences, where they have huge, large research teams that contributed to it, maybe very big data sets that they've got a whole bunch of people analyzing the data or doing the research project. So it doesn't look great. It makes a very big citation, but it is a change that you should be aware of. So up to 20, you have to list all of them. again, this is where a citation creator is super helpful because it will have already put all this information in and you can just cut and paste it. You don't have to sit here and type all these people's names and hope that you get them correct. So when APA 6 came out, DOIs were a new thing, and we've learned a lot about how to do DOIs. I don't think this is necessarily, it's perfected yet, but the format in 6 is what this is, what we used to do. Now it should be formatted as an HTTPS web address every single time. So if you have an old DOI, you may have to go in and edit it and make the changes so that it is now a link, an active link. So your students may have to add this information in front of it in the DOI. And so if they are working from old ones, this may be something they have to do. Anything new coming out, the DOI on the publication should be formatted correctly, but I haven't really looked at that yet. Okay, so it makes sense. It's a little bit more consistent, and hopefully this will be kind of the format going forward from this. Unlike the 6th edition, there is no retrieval statement. The DOI colon is not used, and you don't say retrieved from. You just include the website if it needs to be happening. The only time that you would have retrieved from is if you are working from a database that is likely to change, to a website that's likely to change. That isn't very many. Maybe even, I don't even think I would do it for Wikipedia, but if you had a wiki where people were actively changing the page all the time, then you might have the retrieved from, but that is very rare. So most of the time if you're going to include a website or you're going to include, you would just leave out the retrieve from and just have it. For most cases in the 7th edition, you treat these citation without a DOI like a print citation. That is a big change. It used to have this whole rigmarole if there wasn't a DOI, what you had to do. Now it's just like a print citation, which means it's usually short and pretty straightforward. If an item does not have a DOI, but does have a URL that links to that specific source, then you can use that URL. And again, it doesn't have any prefix, retrieve from, anything like that. You just stick the website on there, as long as it gets you to that specific source. Otherwise, you treat it like a print source and it wouldn't have any web information at all. Okay, so again, this is simpler improvements. Much of this is less complicated than it used to be. So all good. As I said, the only thing I don't like is the 20 authors. The rest of it, I think things are better. So in a paper, should the URLs be linked or not? So should they be blue, like this one I've got at the first, or should it be not underlined, not active link, and just in black? Both are acceptable, so students can pick which one they want to do, though it is strongly recommended that if the paper is being submitted in electronic form, not paper form, that the links be live. And personally, if I was grading something, I would like the links to be live, because I would, if I was grading something electronically, I'd like the links to be live because I'd like it to actually take me to the thing that is there. Okay, I'm going to quickly stop screen sharing and check the chat, make sure it's not something I need to answer. Okay, I just answered my question. Okay, great, even better. Okay, we're going to go back to screen sharing. Oh, did I get rid of it? Okay. Oh, what did I do? All right. We're going to have to skip. Oh, okay. Yeah, So if you have a live link, it should be blue. If it's not a live link, it should be black and not underlined, okay? Retrieve from is no longer used except on websites that are likely to change, and as I said, that's extremely rare. Okay, this is a change in print publications. We no longer have to have the publisher location. Hallelujah. This was kind of a annoying old school thing, and it doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
Hey, Mary.
Yes?
Sorry to interrupt. Can you share your screen?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. This is I got to that and didn't do screen share. Okay, just a second. Here we go. Oh.
There it is.
Okay, yes, thank you. I need to go back just a second. I'm too far here. Okay, so the publisher location is not included. And you can see in this example here, pretty straightforward, and it was annoying things that you didn't need anyway. And students get confused by it because some publications have like 5 places of publication and they never knew which ones to pick. And it really doesn't matter. Okay, as I said, paper formatting I think is much easier because we're no longer formatting for the only example they used to have was people who were formatting to submit to a journal. Now we have an actual student format, much better. So there is as I've said, complete sample student paper in the manual that you can look at. There's a sample title page on page 32. It gives you, it looks like a pretty standard student title page, but faculty are told as the final authority on formats of title page. So if you don't like how the APA number 7 title page looks, feel free to customize to your specifications. And it actually says that in the manual. So you are the ultimate authority, but the example is good. Page numbers are in the upper right-hand corner of all pages, starting with the title page, which will be easier for those of us who have to help students do page numbers, because that's much simpler than having to start on a different page. The elements that have been eliminated from student papers in the 7th edition, the running head, which I also hated, very glad it's gone. It just, to me, it was too much stuff on of a header of a page paper. Now it's only the page numbers. That's the only thing at the top of the page. The author note is gone, the abstract and keywords. Again, these were things that you needed if you were possibly submitting something for publication, were not things that you necessarily needed for a student paper. And most students, I don't think, ever use these things, but it was given in the example, and so it could be very confusing to students as to what they were supposed to be doing. It is now standardized, and most software will correct for this anyway, that it is 1 space after a period at the end of a sentence. Those of us who were old school and learned how to type on manual and electric typewriters are still 2 spacers, but if you've been doing that, your software is probably already correcting for that anyway, just telling you. And there are reasons for that, and it has to do with how the things format. It looks a lot better with 1 space. 2 spaces is too many spaces. And if you want to have a long discussion about that or bemoan the end of an era, you know, you're welcome to come talk to me and I will be sympathetic to you. Okay, I don't know how many people would ever use these fonts because I think some of these fonts are terrible, but apparently the recommended font is still New Times Roman 12 point, but there are also other ones that they consider acceptable. I don't like Computer Modern or Lucinda Sans Unicode at all, but maybe there are reasons why some people would want papers submitted in that. But if you have a student, you can certainly suggest whatever you want to suggest. But just be aware that the manual says these are all acceptable fonts, and you can do that with it what you will. This is from the APA style page. I really liked it because it was kind of a nice summary of how you do, how you handle citations in the text of the paper. So the first column, you have the type of authors, and then this is a parenthetical citation where a student would say something, you know, and then would need to cite where they got it from. And then if they cite something, you know, if they said, Luna says that, you know, all kindergartners should be working on their social skills. You would have, this is how it would be if it was a narrative citation. This would be if you said, all kindergartners should be working on their social skills, period, then Luna 2020 to say where it came from. And here's an example of how 2 authors would look in those 2 situations. Here's how 3 or more authors. This is a change. This is simpler than what it was in APA 6. APA 6 had something you did when you did one thing at the first time you used 3 or more authors, and then had a new thing when you did after that. That's all gone. Now this is how 3 or more authors are handled all the time when it's in the paper itself, not the end, but at the paper itself. And then there's some other nice little just how you do handle things that are things that students ask all the time. I will give you a link to this website at the end of these slides with the APA style page. But there's a whole lot more helpful information in the APA style website now than there was before. So that makes me happy. Let me do this. The actual page where at the end of the paper where you do references has changed slightly. Now references is in bold, centered in the middle, and then you would have your references. That seems like a pretty minor change. Oops. And a second here, we're going to get to this in a minute. So minor change in the formatting of this, and notice no running head and just the page number on this, which is nice. As I said, there's an entire chapter on inclusive and bias-free language. I'm only going to hit a couple of highlights on this, but if this is something that you would like to know more about, I highly recommend that you actually read the whole chapter in the manual. So in previous iterations of APA, they would have said a researcher's career depends on how often he is cited. The new guideline is a researcher's career depends on how often they are cited. So a singular they is more universally used. And then you can see each examiner submitted his or her assessment, and is now each examiner submitted their assessment. And so that may be a change for you. They're also encouraging people to be more sensitive to labels and how you describe things. Some of that's on age groups. They want you to be more specific as to what age groups, instead of just saying 65 plus, say what actual age range you're working on if you do have an exact age range. The poor is not now considered acceptable, and it's people living in poverty. Transsexuals, no. Transgender people. And they would have a lot more of these examples in the manual and on the website. So those are things that you might want to look at. These are some recommended resources. I don't have a lot. There's plenty of things out on the internet, but frankly, the official APA style page is so much better than it has been. I would say start there. They also have a kind of a ask the AP person like email place. So if you have a really tricky, complicated question, I don't think many of you are going to have those. You can actually submit questions to them and somebody will get back to you with an answer. But I would only say that for really complicated stuff, because most of their page is going to have explanations of things. So they have a lot of sample stuff, a lot of things that are actually in the manual or on the style page, and I highly recommend it. And I don't necessarily think I would have recommended it as much for APA 6 because I didn't think they did a very good job with it. Both Welshmer and Seminary Library have print copies available and librarians who are willing to help you with all your tricky citation questions. I do thank Scribbler for the design and outline for this presentation. I'm now going to stop sharing this screen and look at the, I think there was one more chat question. If you have any other chat questions, I'm also happy to take those now. I will send the PowerPoint. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a link to this put on the whole presentation on the Facebook page. I do not have all the names of the people who've come right now written down because I've been too busy doing this. But if you would like the PowerPoint sent to you, I will send it to you. And if you've already asked me for it, I've written your name down. You are welcome to use this. I did use it from Scribbler, the basics of what the design looks like and all that from Scribbler, and some of those examples are there. So please keep that. If you use the PowerPoint, don't take all that off. But you can copy and paste slides into a new Google slide show if you want to, and do that. And if there's anything you want me, if you have a group of people you want me to come talk to about this, I'm happy to talk to students about this. I think most students don't really care that much, but I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do whatever would help you serve you best. I have a question about handling personal conversations or interviews. Bruce, I have not looked that up specifically. And so I don't know off the top of my head, but I can certainly look when I get off of here and send you a scan or a page of this. They do a better job of like movies. As I said at the beginning, there's a lot of online, but a lot of things with movies and things with like directors and illustrators and things like that. There's some better stuff along that line from what I've seen, right? Since we're running right about 30 minutes, I am going to stop this. But if you have any more questions, just let me know. You can email me and I will be happy to answer any more further follow-up questions on any of this. If I don't know the answer, guess what? I'll look it up and figure it out. All right, it was great having all of you join me today. It was fun to actually have people to be participant. And then we will be posting this on the Milligan Library website, and I will also send you that link if you want to show it to other people, this whole presentation to somebody else. And if you want the PowerPoint, just let me know and I'll send that to you too.